of course, there's 4 things that we all need to do, and it's very similar to the infinite game, which is these are practices. If you do one of them, you'll be better, but if you do all of them, you're the best, but you can't do them all well all the time. You need to get sleep, you need to eat well, you need to exercise, you need to maintain your close personal relationships. Mm-hmm. You have to do all of them all the time. How annoying, right? And so I can recognize that when 1 or 2 of those things have fallen away, I'm on the road a lot. Diet goes to pot very quickly. Sometimes exercise goes away. And those things are frustrating. I immediately feel it. But for me, it's the social one. That's the biggest one. And if I feel myself struggling, I'll call someone. I'm very, very close with my sister, and she and I are very lucky to have each other. I'll call her and say, I'm having a bad day, or I can't figure this out, or I don't know how to do this, or I'm stuck, or I'm struggling, And those relationships are so important because sometimes we yell and scream at each other, but it's not at each other, it's because we're frustrated, and the other person just stays and listens. It was really funny. I was at this meeting once, and there was this woman sitting next to me who apparently was a big-timey yoga instructor, and she was on her phone the entire time at this meeting, like under the table. And it wasn't like a grandparent was sick or in hospital and like she needed to stay connected or something like that. I looked over, she was on social media.
Sure.
And at one point we were talking about being present, and she perked up and said, "That's why I love yoga, it helps me be present." And I'm thinking, you're an idiot, And what she completely missed is that we don't get to decide when we're present. I like yoga, it helps me be present. Good for you. Like other people get to decide when you're present. That's the standard. The reason we meditate, for any of you who've ever meditated, you learn to sit there and clear your mind, and if you have a thought, you label a thought and you put it out of your mind to deal with later, which is hard to do. But the reason a meditation practice is important is when you're sitting and someone's talking to you, that you're not waiting for your turn to speak. That when you have thoughts, you learn to label those thoughts and put them aside so you can be totally present for the other person. And you are not present until someone else says to you, "Thank you for listening. I feel heard. Thank you for being there for me. Congratulations, all that hard work has now paid off." Being present is an act of service. And that's what we think we've forgotten in America today, which is all of these, work-life balance pursuits have become selfish pursuits. We have an entire section in the bookshop called self-help. We have no section in the bookshop called help others. And I think this is a problem, and I blame the 80s and 90s. Okay, boomer. I do. I blame a lot of what happened with the baby boomers. A lot of those theories about business and prioritizing self before service and me before we, they really took off in the 80s and 90s, which were relative peace and booming economically. Everybody was getting rich in the 80s and 90s. Sure. And so we became super selfish, and I think we're paying the price these days. Because I think as a society, as an American society, we've over-indexed on selfish, and we need to get back to service.